Caution. You are turned off by the truth of what's happening on the street today. Turn your attention away.
There's a new mean game in town.
Grounded magazine.
So real, so brutally honest.
Grounded.
So real.
I chain down thunder and handcuff light. I'm so damn strong, it's sometimes right.
Grounded magazine. Grounded magazine.
Yeah, so why don't you tell the people your name and explain to them how long you've been in this game, man?
All right, I'm McSWEEN, from Brooklyn, born and raised. October will make my eighth comedy year, birthday.
Congratulations.
So thanks, man. So I've been doing it 8 years. Started in New York City. Actually started at an open mic. Went to open mic because I used to go and watch a friend of mine perform all the time, and I was like, wow, I can do that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think that she was funny off stage.
Okay.
So I went and I did, and I just got hooked, man. I got hooked. Like, I come from a performance background.
Right.
You know, like music as a kid and theater, and then this was just like a new way of like me, like being able to go up and express myself, and I love to tell stories. I love to entertain. So I just got hooked, man. It just became the challenge of getting up there and like trying my best to connect with the audience and touch them on a human level.
Okay.
You know?
Well, you definitely did that last night for sure.
Thanks, man.
So you're from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
And what brings you all the way to Richland, Washington?
I came out to I was the featured comic this weekend at Joker's Comedy Club in Richland. Awesome club. Big up to everybody over there. They were dope. Max Faulkner, the owner, they really like embraced me and showed me. They rolled out the red carpet service for me. It was dope. Audiences were awesome. This is definitely, I would say, this is like one of the best. This was one of the best best club experiences so far.
You said like 8 years you've been doing this?
Yeah.
And so who influenced you to become a comedian, and what inspired you?
You know what? Before I got into comedy, I wasn't really into comedy. Like, I was into like mainstream comedy. I didn't really watch comedy. I didn't go out to the comedy clubs. I might have went to like a couple of comedy shows like here and there, but just like, you know, the mainstream guys. Like, I grew up watching Cat Williams. I grew up watching, you know, Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy, of course. Sinbad was one of my favorites. I think Sinbad was the comic that really like caught my attention and brought my eyes to comedy. I really love his I love his style. Like, he gets like how he's so vulnerable and how he gets his point to the people without profanity. I mean, I don't do a clean show, but he does his show without profanity. He doesn't curse. I just thought it was so awesome. Like, I sat down and watched the first Sinbad special that I saw with my mom, and it was like cool how, you know, it was like me, my mom, and my brother, and like my uncle, and it was cool how all these different ages were sitting and laughing together at the same material.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt.
So he's a big influence to me. I love Cat Williams. I love Damon Wayans, another one of my favorites. There's a lot. And now that I'm into comedy and I watch, like, I have so many favorites. A lot of my new favorites are just like, you know, like unknown dudes.
Okay.
A lot of unknown dudes. A lot of New York dudes.
Yeah, you can name someone I probably could check out in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. There's a kid that I do a show with out in New York named Rick Knight. He's dope. Little Jewish kid from East New York, Brooklyn. Funny as hell. Who else? There's so many out there, man. Rick Knight, Paul Murdoch, another favorite of mine's, local dude from New York.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm a watcher. Now that I'm in it, like, I'm really like into comedy. Like, when I talk to people who watch comedy and they're like, oh, you know, like, who's gonna be at the club tonight, or like who you watching, who you gonna go see this weekend. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go see this person. Like, I never heard of them, but a lot of the local dudes. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in the local pools, man. There's a lot of funny dudes out here that nobody knows.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
You write your own material?
Yeah.
Okay.
I write. I try to write. Well, it depends. Writing is like the hardest. I think writing is the hardest part as a comic. I call myself a seasonal comic. Like how you go to certain restaurants. You got restaurants you go to, and they're like, oh well, we kind of make what's local. Okay. And what's in season at the time. Like that's how I write my material. Like I really like to talk about like what's on my mind at the time, what's affecting me at the time, things I've seen recently, and I try to keep it fresh. Like I want to stay entertained by my own material because I feel like if I love it, that it'll translate to the audience. I feel like it's a big part of performance too. Like you got to feel what you do. Yeah. So, I go up there, I talk about all kinds of stuff. Like I talk about everything from relationships to, race relations to, like current events, anything that's popping with me at the time that I feel like I want to get up there and get it off my chest. Yeah. That's where I get my material from. So whenever it comes to me, I put it down and I go up there and I give it to the people.
You go off what type of crowd there is?
Yeah, usually, I feel like...
Like the crowd last night?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like you have to. You have to give the crowd... You have to be very, very, very... you have to be giving to the people. You got to give to the people. You got to give the people what they want. So you got to feel the crowd out.
And that calls for a great comic at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the challenge.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because every audience is different. Like I could get up in front of a audience here, like the majority of the people. Well, not the majority. It was an all-white audience. Right. Last 3 nights. I'm going home to get up in front of an audience in Harlem. So it's like when I go there, they're gonna want something different. Right. Yeah. They're gonna want something different. The mainstream audience is a little easier to please, I think. Like like this audience this weekend, like they were awesome. They're awesome. It was like a very mature, like kind of like an older audience. Okay. The kind of audience that you would probably see in like Caroline's or like one of those clubs. So like I'm used to that. But I love the challenge of getting up in front of different types of people. Like I just did a show in Washington Heights for an all Dominican audience. You know what I mean? Like you can't get up there and talk about stuff that they can't relate to. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear about. They don't want to hear about like the same thing that I would talk about in front of an audience here. So you have to switch it up and like be real versatile. You have to be willing to. You just have to get vulnerable and be willing to go up there and give the audience what they want. Like you got to put the audience first. Right. That's definitely because they're there for you. You know what I mean?
So is there any type of big productions coming up for you or anything?
Well, I got a little crew out in New York, Laugh Riot crew. Big shout out to Rick Knight, Isaiah Wright, Dave Styles. It's my boys out there. We produce shows together. About to go on a tour soon. Details to be announced. I like getting on stage. I feel like I'm a baby. Like I've only been doing it 8 years. Like the headliner last night, been doing it 27 years.
He was nice.
Yeah, 27 years. But that's 27 years of experience. So like I'm just trying to get to that point. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I hear. A matter of fact, I was talking to him last night, and he was like, "Oh wow, 8 years." He was like, "You should pat yourself on the back because a lot of people either get to where he is or they don't make it past 8 years." And I see it happen all the time. I see a lot of awesome comics. Yeah. Coming up, and then they just disappear. Man, it's a hard game. It like really beats you up because it's all you. Everything you do is all on you. Like getting out there. Your performance, your material, not being inside your own head and worrying about everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like it like really kind of like beats people down like emotionally. That's why I understand why like a lot of comics, man, the lifespan of comics, good comics, man, a lot of them, expire, overdosing,
Right.
a lot of them are alcoholics. Shit is hard, man.
Yeah. Okay.
This summer, planning on it, coming out to Seattle and be in Portland. So
And definitely, if you out this way, if you need any of your shows recorded, I could be right there, man.
Yo,
For sure.
Loving it.
You know?
I'll definitely let you know.
Okay.
You go on my website. I got links to my work. I got my schedule. I try to get out there to people, and I got like some photos on there. Places that I went and performed and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can see all that stuff on my website, and there's links to it. I got all my Facebook, my whole schedule, up on my Facebook.
Okay.
And you can check me out on Twitter, Andre McSWEEN.
Yeah.
On Twitter and Facebook. See, in my career, I would say there's a couple. My first big show, my first actual real show, where I got paid, and I felt established as a comic. I did a show for the Police Benevolency Association and the mayor.
Okay.
In Paterson, New Jersey. That was pretty awesome. 400 police officers. That was my first big show. And I did it with some other local dudes from out in my area. Nick Z, he's also one to look out for. Pete Davidson, the kid is a beast.
Okay.
He's 19 years old. I've known him since he was 15. And he just recently got picked up for management by Nick Cannon. He's blazing all over the country, everywhere. Check him out, definitely. He's a dude to watch.
Okay.
And we went up there and we rocked out in front of 400 police officers. And I think that's the moment when I really, really felt I was wow, I'm a comic now. But that's one of the moments. And then I had another moment where I got to speak to a comic. I won't mention his name, but he's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites. I watched the dude growing up, and
Okay.
I even up to today, from being a kid, I think he's one of the most amazing performers I've ever seen on stage. He's so funny. And I was at Eastville Comedy Club in New York, and I was just there trying to get a spot. New York is a hard scene for comedy. You know what I mean? There's just so many comics. Everybody's fighting for. Everybody's out there trying to get spots. You're just trying to get on stage, really.
Okay.
You're just trying to get on stage. That's it. And I was over at Eastville Comedy Club trying to get onto this show, and I saw this comic. He was sitting at the bar, and he's huge to me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I saw this dude. I felt I would have felt the same way if I was sitting in the same room as Prince, Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? The dude is that dope.
Okay.
And I remember sitting there, and he was gonna go up, and he doesn't want to be bothered. You know what I mean? He's there, having French fries and a beer, and he was overhearing a conversation that I was having with other comics, and we were just talking about the comedy game, who we feel we have to be on stage. And he gave me some advice, well, all of us, he gave us some advice that really stuck with me to this day. And he said, when you go on stage, the people want to know you, you go on stage, they want to hear about the things that you're scared of. They want to hear about the things that people don't talk about. They want to, it's you got to help. It's you're helping them relate to the human experience. I go on stage, I talk about a lot of things that might be inappropriate for me to talk about. My kids, PTA meeting or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But these are things that people want to hear about because they don't get to address these things during the day. They don't get to talk about these things, but everyone can relate to it because it's things that we all go through.
Right.
So that was a real defining moment in my life. I feel it was a pivotal moment in my career because it changed the way I looked at doing comedy. When I first started, I thought it was all about telling jokes.
Okay.
I start off, like they say, fake it till you make it. Like when I first started, I would just get up there. I'd get up there and tell jokes. It was always like real random, and didn't really have anything to do with anything. It was just a series of jokes.
All right.
So yeah, that it changed the way I looked at comedy and the serious approach that I take to preparing myself to to get on stage and do what I do. I think one of the things that really draws me to the stage is my need for attention, man. Like I look like I'm a ham, and I like to be like I love to be on stage. Sometimes I remember when I first started, I'd love to be on stage even when I was bombing, just because people were looking at me and listening to me. You know what I'm saying?
Bombing bad?
Yeah. It happens, man.
In New York City?
Bombing anywhere is horrible. Like I remember doing 5-minute sets. You know what I mean? Like get up on stage and I remember my very, very first time getting on stage for a show. I only did 6 minutes. And I had it ready. I did an open mic, and I thought I was ready. And I called up this dude that was producing the show, and I was like, "Yo, man, you got any more spots?" And he was like, "Oh, you got time? You could." And I'm like, "All right, yeah." I was like, "I got that." And I remember I went out. I bought the flyest outfit. That was my only concern. I went out and I got fresh, and I didn't even think about, all right, you know what? You're gonna have to get on stage and do 6 minutes. In my head, 6 minutes. I was like, what's 6 minutes?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was the longest 6 minutes of my life. I remember I got up there. I had 2 bits that I had worked on. They weren't even all the way worked out.
Okay.
And I got on stage and I did my 2 bits. And I remember looking at my watch, and only a minute and a half had passed. And I wanted to get off stage so bad. You know what I'm saying? It was eye opening, man. It was. But now 5 minutes, I need 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes just to go on stage and be silent and warm up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. It's come a long way. It's come a long way. My attitude changed. The way I feel about performing changed.
Yeah.
And again, I don't if I wasn't doing comedy, I think I would still be on stage doing something. I act too. I do theater. I got a musical opening. Opening later this year. Date to be announced. I just did the first run of the show 2 years ago, out east, called The Cost of Love. It's dope, black musical, and I would definitely be on stage, man. I like music, play the piano, sing, all that stuff. I act. I just like being in front of the camera and being on stage in front of the people. So I'd even be a news anchor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just to be on stage.
You're a comic, dope comic for sure.
Oh, thanks, man.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. 5 years. I'll feel blessed to still be doing this as a job. Cause it's hard, man. It's hard. There's a lot of comics out there. There's a lot of comics. It's like a gladiators game. You know what I'm saying? You're under the Coliseum, sharpening your sword and shit, and getting your armor ready.
Right.
You go out there and you fight. You don't know what you're gonna see when you go in that arena. It could be a tiger. You know what I'm saying? It could be a dude with a bigger sword.
Right.
And, if you win, you just live to fight the next day. So, I just hope to still be doing this. Maybe a couple cool TV spots would be cool.
Okay.
That's one of my future goals. I eventually want to transition to doing something. I would love to do something on TV.
All right.
Even if it was just writing.
Yeah.
For a show. Yeah. I always would prefer to be in front of the camera, but.
Have you ever written any scripts for shows or anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I work with an improv group in
Okay.
out in New York, and me and my boys, like, we do sketches and stuff, and write and film. So you guys can look out for that soon. I have a link on my website, on my Facebook, where you can go and see us cutting up and putting down like what we wrote. I like to create, you know what I mean? Like, I really like to create. I like the creative process of like putting together something like that.
Okay.
I grew up watching TV, and I just remember being like transformed to like a different place in time, like watching a lot of the shows that I grew up on, watching the shows and really just like being in a whole different world for like 30 minutes, watching like Three's Company,
Okay,
or
yeah.
like, the Cosby Show. I like that, the creative process and the outcome from, all this genius shit coming together to create this like fantasy world that just sort of like sucks people in. So I really like writing, and I bring it to my stage performance a lot. I like to tell stories, and I like to lead people on a journey. Like, I like to get up there. I like to get people to follow me. It's like, come in and listen to what I'm talking about. I know it sounds like I'm just talking about poop, but I'm going somewhere with this. I like watching people's faces, and they're there right with you, like, and you can feel like, all right, you know what, this person really, they understand. They're listening to me talk about pooping in public, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they can relate to it because in some way, it touches them. I like the storytelling process. I would love to write for a TV show. Like,
Okay.
I'm like, right now, like, I've been watching a lot of TV too. I'm like heavy back in the TV. I'm like getting old and shit. I don't really like going out. So I'm home like watching TV when I'm not out performing or I'm not out doing something. I'm home watching TV. I like to be a part of that process. TV is something that I would love to do in the near future.
Yeah.
To even theater, like just being a part of that process. Like, I got into theater real heavy too. Like, theater's dope.
Yeah.
I just did this musical, Cost of Love. It was my first musical.
Okay. You sing
It was, yeah. Well, I don't really sing it. I play the male lead, and I'm kind of like the villain. I play the bad boyfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, I played a bad boyfriend. I mean, like a real bad boyfriend. Like, this dude is a badass. Like,
Okay.
like it's a rape scene.
Oh, okay.
And, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just everything that's bad. Like, it was,
Yeah.
and it was dope because like I got to be something that like I'm really not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I got to go up there and just like
Show
be an
your range
asshole.
a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was dope. Like,
Yeah.
I knew that I was doing the job the right way when I was on stage, and people like actually started hating me for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
on stage, like I would come out, and people would start booing me, and I'm like, whoa,
That's a good
booze.
sign.
And I'm like, no, that's a good thing, because this dude was a dick. But
Yeah.
that was my first experience doing that. I'm about to do the second run of that. Looking forward to doing it.
Okay.
And I've done like some commercial work, stuff like that.
All right.
I like that. I like acting too. I like being on stage. I like being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I like playing make believe. You know what I'm saying?
Once you make it to television, you probably open yourself up for other comedians to have some jokes on you, maybe, perhaps.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or a little fun your way type of thing.
Well, you know what? I feel like that's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil. It's a necessary evil, man.
Yeah.
I like to see, what I love about, like meeting dudes like Ron. Like,
Okay.
he's a real cool cat. He gave me a lot of good advice. We had some good talks. I just feel like, we need to all start being more cohesive. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's
Okay.
come together. We need some unity. Come together, help each other, pull each other up. I think that that's lacking a lot these days. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I would never, they could say whatever
Yeah,
they want
yeah.
about me. I'm like, all right, cool. If it's helping you,
Right.
then go right on ahead.
Yeah. You were in the game, of course you want to give back.
Yeah.
And, most people want to give back to their community where they come from and those type of situations. If you had opportunity to give back, what type of charity would you think you'd be involved with?
Well, I'm actually like right now. I'm trying to start an organization
There you go.
like back home that gives leadership and promotes positivity like in the inner city community, especially with like young black boys and like young kids like growing up in the inner city. Like I feel like there's a big need for it. You got a lot of kids in the inner city that come from like single parent homes or they just don't have an outlet to do the things that they might want to do, or the things that they don't know they can do because they just don't have anyone showing them how to do that. So I want to start an organization for little kids, like in particular male, because I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in the inner city, and I've seen like how the inner city just like destroys, especially the young black youth. You know what I mean? Like like you've seen it. What's going on in like Chicago right now. Like it's just crazy. You know what I mean? Like when I was watching the news and when I heard like the death toll, like all the homicides for 2012, like the entire year in Chicago, like you would think that what's going on in the Middle East was going on right here, stateside.
Right.
And it's just a lot of these young black kids, they don't have any outlets. They don't have anyone saying, oh, like what are you good at, and like helping them develop and to become great at these things. So I want to start organization like that for little like not just young black kids, because it's a lot of kids from all different walks of life and colors and persuasions that are going through the same thing too.
Right.
But I want to provide a service like that for them, because I definitely I think it would have been something that would have been awesome to have like when I was growing up, like watching what a lot of the other little boys, like I was lucky. I'm lucky to be here. I could have got caught up and very well been a part of one of those statistics.
Right.
So like that really resonates hard for me, and also like health is close to my heart too. Like my mom has MS, so I'm like real involved with that. I'm about to do a tour to raise money for the MS Foundation and kidney disease, which I just did the kidney walk. So I'm always about trying to raise money or awareness when it comes to anything positive.
Definitely though, like I said, man, you could reach out to me. I'll do whatever I can to help out.
Cool, I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir. Out of all the jokes or routines you heard in your career, what's the funniest joke that stand out to you, if you don't mind sharing?
That's a good one. You know what? I've never, ever thought about it.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot
sure.
of really, really, really good jokes.
Okay.
Well, my boy Rick Knight from out in New York.
Okay.
He's a comic out there, real funny. He does a bit. He says, he's from Brooklyn. He's from East New York. He reps Brooklyn hard.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a big rap star. I wanted to be a big rap star like Jay-Z. So I could, date women that look like Beyonce. But instead I became a comic, so I date women who look like Jay-Z. And like, yeah, that shit always kills me.
Right,
and I've seen him do it so many times, but it always gets me.
That's
He's a funny dude. He's a good dude to look out for, man.
Okay.
Locally grown.
With you being so nice with your craft, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible for a comic to teach someone to be a comic?
I think the best way to learn comedy's a weird, my journey through comedy so far.
Yes.
And I see it all the time. I see like comedy classes.
Oh, okay.
A lot of clubs do like comedy classes and stuff like that. I just feel like,
it's like a skit.
Yeah, it's like they actually have like comedy classes where like you go and you like pay and you sit down and you do a class, and then they have like a graduation show and you go and do a graduation show in like front of your friends, and family. I think that the best way to learn is to get up there and do it. You got to get up there and do it and feel what it feels like, you know, and also become a student of comedy. Watch comedy, you know, watch who's great.
Yeah.
You know, watch the people that you find, you find entertaining, people that you find funny. Watch the people that everyone else finds funny. That's how I learned. Like, I just sort of like, I'm like self-taught, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like, I
yeah.
got up there and just did what I thought it was, and it turned into what I'm doing right now. I might not even be doing the right thing right now, but,
Yeah.
you know, like, I'm living off experience, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Okay.
I never got into it knowing how to write a structured joke, you know, like they even
Okay.
got books, you know, like how to write a joke.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I've never even opened one of these books because, you know, who's to say like how a joke is supposed to be written?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you do it, and it's like a evolution process. Like, you start where you start, and you pick up things along the way, and then like you just become like a sum of all those experiences.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you figure out what works for you, and you package it, and you give it out, and you give it to the people, and see what happens. It's a lot of trial and error. You know, it's like, you know, there's so many different styles and so many
Yeah.
different types of comedy, and you know, you have comics that do this, you have comics that do that. You got comics like, you know, Carrot Top that are prop comics, and you got comics like, you know, Cat Williams, who, you know what I mean, like, it's something that's like completely different. So it's just a matter of figuring out, you know, who you are. I think
Yeah.
it's also like that journey, you know, of being an artist, like figuring out who you are.
Okay.
You got to find out who you are and what it is you're trying to say,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
And then and only then could you know, like, you have to know. It's like, if you can't show up in an ambulance to like help somebody that's dying, you know what I mean? If like you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing, you need the right tools, you need to know your job, like you need to know who you are so you could deliver what you have to deliver. You know, whether it be music, whether it is you know, comedy, you know, acting, like whatever, like especially when it comes to performance.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to know who you are. You have to know who you are and embrace and love that person. Get to know that person. You have to have a good relationship with yourself to be
Okay.
on stage.
Do you listen to music before you hit the stage? What, you know,
I do.
amps you up? And I also want to get into what type of music you play.
Okay.
You know, like what
Yeah.
you know might relax to, what you do, and what you play. Yeah, what your instruments and all that.
Let me see. What do I listen to? I always listen to music before I go on stage.
Okay.
And it really depends. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. I'm a huge R&B fan. Like,
Okay.
I feel like I'm like a hopeless romantic dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that kind of dude that, like, you get in my car and you be like, yo, man, you can't be playing R&B in here as two dudes. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, that's my shit. I love R&B, man. John Legend, big John Legend fan, huge John Legend fan. Stevie Wonder, like a lot of the old stuff. Isley Brothers, Bruno Mars, I'm hooked on right now. And I love my hip hop too. You know what I mean? Like, I just started to get back into hip hop. Like, I come from a different era with hip hop. You know, I grew up on like Wu-Tang Clan, like, you know, Black Moon. Like, I still love that stuff. Like, there was a point where I wasn't listening to anything past '96.
Okay.
Nasty Nas, Jay-Z. I love that stuff. I love a lot of the new cats too, man. Like, I love Rick Ross and 2 Chainz and
Yeah.
Lil Wayne. And like, before I go on stage, I always like to listen to something that like gets me amped up. Like, I just need something that gives me like that pop in my walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, what was I listening to yesterday? Before I went on stage yesterday, I was listening to some Rick Ross. He's one of my favorites right now. Like,
Okay.
like, I'll just, like, sometimes I could just like listen to Rick Ross like all day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like, but I grew up listening to a lot of different stuff. You know, it depends. Like, I go through like different seasons with music.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a rock fan.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to rock. My oldest brother's 10 years older than me, so I grew up listening to Prince, and I grew up listening to you know, the Stones and like Led Zeppelin and Bruce Springsteen, David Bowie.
Yeah.
You know, the Police. I grew up listening to that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it depends. Like, sometimes sometimes, you know, I'm just like in a hip hop. I'm going through a hip hop phase. Like right now, like I'm a hip hopper. You know what I mean? Like I've been listening to hardcore shit for like the last like couple of months, especially before going on stage. I need that, you know, like I need Rick Ross in my ear saying like, go up there and fucking kill it, dude. Like,
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I like that. It does a lot for me, man. And like, I mean, music wise, like what I'm into, like what I like to play, like I love R&B, man. Like I love it to death. Like, and anything that's sort of like along that same spectrum. Like I love R&B and like neo soul and soul.
Right.
You know, soft rock. Like I love. Like I just feel like it's music that comes from such a personal place. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to John Legend, you listen to Stevie Wonder, like how they just like they kind of just like romanticize, you know, whatever it is that they're singing about, and how connected you feel to it because of how they're giving it to you. You know what I mean? Mary J. Blige.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff, man. So that's usually what I'm listening to. But when it's like game time, when it's time to go up there and fucking rock out, like, you know, I got some ASAP Rocky in the earphones or something like that, so I can go up there and do what I gotta do.
You say you play piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what other instruments? Or you
I play a little guitar.
Okay.
And I sing. I love to sing.
Okay.
And I'm just a romantic dude, man. I just want to serenade the world. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like that's my shit. Like I daydream about being an R&B singer. You know what I'm saying?
How many songs you have written?
Huh?
How many songs you have written?
Songs?
Yeah.
No, songs. I'm not really a songwriter, man. I'm not really a songwriter.
How many times you dabbled a song?
Dabbled? I do a lot of writing, man.
Yeah.
I've dabbled in some songwriting, but
I'm sure a singer is gonna try to write a song.
Yeah. I just
somewhere.
like to sing, man. Like sometimes I see other songs, I'm like, that song was supposed to be written for me, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I love R&B, man. That's my shit. Like, I can see like I'm like one of those dudes, you know, like I'm like a little white girl in the mirror, like with the hairbrush, you know what I mean? Like like I sing, man. I sing. I've been walking down the hallway up in here singing. Sometimes just like going out to like grab a smoke or grab something to eat. People are opening doors and be like, yo, who's this black dude in the hallway like singing and shit?
Or could we get a note of something that's in your CD player?
Damn, like a note, like out of here, like
note out of there. Yes, sir.
Damn, I wish I could, man.
I'm gonna turn my head. You can do your thing.
My voice ain't right now. I'm like tired. I've been drinking and smoking all night, all morning. But yo, definitely next time. I'll send you some vids. I'll send you some clips.
There you go.
You can post them.
There you go. Okay.
I knew that was coming next. Like, yo, man, you could drop a little something.
Yeah, all I asked for was a note too. You know, yeah, maybe I'll go around the hotel and ask them what they think about the singing they've been hearing. Yeah, but I do appreciate you, man, doing this interview with me.
Yo, man, thank you, man.
You know,
thank you.
Definitely a hot set last night.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate you know, like you and like, you know, other guys like you, really like, you know, putting the spotlight on local and like underground, you know, underground comics, man, because we need that. There's a lot of talent out there that people ain't really getting to see. So that's dope, man. Thank you for having me.
1, 2, 3.
You are turned off by the truth of what's happening on the street today. Turn your attention away.
There's a new mean game in town.
Grounded magazine.
So real, so brutally honest.
Grounded.
So real.
I chain down thunder and handcuff light. I'm so damn strong, it's sometimes right.
Grounded magazine. Grounded magazine.